Dirbtuvės. Viskas? Labas rytas visiems. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rocket. Welcome to Home of FinTech and Sustainable Innovation. Welcome to the PropTech Innovation Camp. Welcome to our program. Welcome to our event. Today we will have a great panel. In a few moments I will introduce you the moderator and the topic. Let me as well greet the audience who is watching us on YouTube or who is recapping and watching the video record. So for you all as well, I need to remind you that this event will be, I hope, full of valuable insights, and for startups especially. If you miss something or you want to recap, you always can refer to Rocket Vilnius YouTube channel, and you can watch the recording and enjoy it just one more time. So today is Wednesday, is the third day of the PropTech Innovation Camp program, which is dedicated to find the best ideas in Lithuania regarding the PropTech, regarding offices, regarding energy efficiency, and regarding the data. So today we're approaching for me, the most interesting topic as far as we run the co-working space. So the office of the future is very much actual and very much relevant for us. So I hope for you as well. So it's good to see so many of you here, and it's good to see the people who are from the various industries and our partners, the East9 team and the Swedbank team as well. So welcome one more time. So with no further ado, let me introduce the moderator for today's topic, the office space of the future, Andrius Milinavičius. He is one of the best mentors, I would say, for the startups, one of the most valuable. So catch up with him during the networking for sure. Don't miss the opportunity. And he's one of my favorite moderators at Rocket, and I would say in the whole Baltics. So it's always a pleasure having him on stage here. Andrius Milinavičius is the partner at Baltic Sandbox Venture, an investor himself, and a great guy. You will make you sure of that in a few moments. So Andrius, the stage is yours. Please introduce the panelists and the topic.
Okay, thank you so much, Ekaterina. Thank you so much for the energy in the morning. Already saw that we have the first snow outside, so it's a very good idea to sit down in some cozy place and discuss something that excites everyone, right? And as it was written on our invitation to the event, obviously offices, or let's say public spaces, are the places that we should rethink slightly, right? Because there are a lot of changes in how do we live, in our expectations. And today we want to feature a few maybe main angles in our discussion that I'd like to share with you. The future of office space and what transformation do we all collectively expect. Buildings integration in the communities and cities. We will hear a few of the case studies over the city transformation examples of renovation and change of functionality of spaces we work in. And of course, we will discuss a landscape of tech solutions. For this, I'd like to invite my fellow panel participants, each and every beautiful person, Algirdas Orantas, board member of National Association of Creative and Cultural Industries of Lithuania. Algirdas, welcome. Join me on stage. I like people when they have such long, positions that they are in. So it's very always handy. Yeah, it's one of. Okay, we will discuss the others. Also, Andrea Baldišute, chief architect at Do Architects. Andrea, please join us also. Algirdas Pleta, investment partner at Catalista Ventures. And last but not least, Nidas Kuberis, entrepreneur and angel investor, co-founder of 3000 out of office. Okay, guys, so I will join you here. Everyone who is sitting in the hall, also, you have to understand that this is an open discussion. So if you want to disagree with us, or if you have another or different position, so please do shout. Let's make it a very live and interesting discussion, because we're here and basically not to be the ones that know it all, but to be the ones that can surprise you with a bit different opinion or different angle on the things we sometimes take as a granted. So, dear panelists, you already chose your mascots, right? We have all of them different ones. If you feel nervous, you can take it and hold it. It usually helps. Here, the lamp. That's the mascot. That's the lamp, yeah, okay. But let's move on to our first maybe question, and I would like to start from a bit maybe philosophical angle, right? We used to live in a world where the only place we could work was the office. I'm now speaking about the, like, let's say, working conditions where you need to sit in the office, right? And we did it for a reason, and the reason was we needed some equipment, for example, a computer, a telephone, and we needed the colleagues, right? But life moved on, and we actually moved on from that, let's say, position. So do we really still need the offices? And maybe, Algirdas, I'd like to start from you, from your position on this. Is it changing, or we're just thinking that it is changing and nothing has literally changed?
Okay, thank you. So I will start from a question, do we take for granted what was 10 years ago?
Exactly.
Like forever, because, some time ago we worked in the fields, not so many, 100 years, and most of labor was made in the fields, agricultural. And when we worked in factories, we had the Industrial Revolution, and people moved from the fields to the factories, and it's like 200 years, not so far. And if you think about offices, so first office building in Vilnius, now it's on Basanavičiaus Street, Lietuvos geležinkeliai headquarters. So it's how old? 100 years, maybe a little bit older. So to offices we moved not so many years ago, and we take for granted that everyone was working in offices forever. So I think the things shifting, and the acceleration of the shift is with technologies fast and faster. So the shift is going again, and we see this shift, and actually, what mean to work in the office? What is office? And if you take the little bit back to the history, and you take the mansion or the house of a famous some person, it's usually he or she usually had the office at home. In mansions like a cabinet, and in the apartment it was special room where the guest was welcomed. So office was at home, not so many years ago. I think now we're going back, and now everyone has opportunity to have office at home. You don't have to be like mansion owner or famous doctor or some cultural person or lawyer, because the same lawyers, not so many years ago they had appointment room at home, and still some of them can manage to have the same thing. So the office, I think, was created mostly for workforce, which was forced to move in, and now we have possibility not apply the force and apply the possibility to choose. And it's also condition of uncertainty. It's very difficult. The uncertainty creates stress for people. It's more easy to behave when you have the rules, strict rules, and it creates patterns. And now I think maybe 1 year or 2 years ago, it was even more uncertain situation, how we behave in the future. And now the situation matured to some, I think, predictable outcomes already. We can see the patterns. So I will finish my long philosophical intro, but I think we will share further these things.
Yeah, obviously. and you actually pointed a very interesting moment. I also noticed that when you look at the listings of rental places, or the housing or the flats, I noticed that there's more and more often we see a thing called you can work from here, or it can be your office. And Andrea, maybe I'd like to ask your opinion on this. is the overall, let's say, purpose of the offices actually changing? And when you are, for example, discussing some transformation, let's not get into too many details, but just from the helicopter view, do you also see a change in how the mindset of the people that are working with intellectual jobs are actually changing, and do they need an office where they would be meeting the colleagues?
Yeah, as we as humans are changing every month, every day.
Honestly, because looking at what is happening now, we're not changing.
Yeah, actually, every day I still believe I'm smarter and smarter than the day before, and we cannot expect that the way we work is not changing. But to answer your question, let's go back to the essence. What is important? If it's important on what color of chair do I sit when I work, or it's important the essence, what do I work? So if, for example, back 100 years ago, if I wanted to change ideas, I had to sit on the table to write with ink. So then there was no ink anymore. We had computers, so with my computer I still had to put it on the table. When we had laptops, everything changed. And everything completely changed when we had smartphones. So, I think that the only thing that is relevant is our old spaces, our way of work that are adaptable to change. Because I never know how we will work and what trends for the offices will be after 1 year. Because if I list 10 years of our office, history of our office experience, I noticed that it's constantly changing, everything. Our thoughts, pandemics, totally changed our approach, how we work, or we even thought that we will be working from home. 2 years, 3 years after that thought, we are going back to the office because it doesn't work like how we thought it will work. So the essence is how you do the work, and then with what tools is the other already platform.
Yes, I totally agree actually with you. And Nidas, you are behind a chain of places that for a number of years become a place to work from. Do you have an office yourself? And another question, in times when everything is interconnected, and again, thanks to COVID, we can literally work from the seaside, from any place. You can be visiting your friends abroad and still work. So do you see some changes, or you think okay, that's another option, but if we need to work, we need to come back to the office?
Yes, at the moment, I'm a believer that office spaces will flourish and continue to grow. The need for them, but the real question is what type of the perfect office is. So for me, it should be not boring. It should be with good coffee, with good infrastructure and well thought. Because I have changed so many offices in my life, going back to my first job, I was a promoter of the dance club in Kaunas, and so my backstage was my office with the old toots house music and everything. And then I moved to another type of office, being in Vilnius in an agency called Not Perfect Now. So we were doing a lot of hard work, but we were partying hard as well. So so that was not the very usual office as well. And then we created caffeine. So I think that for 2 or 3 years I didn't have any office at all. So we were working from coffee shops.
So you were the hipster sitting at the coffee shop, and no one knew what you were doing there.
So actually, we were behind the very first concept of, I think, co-work.
Okay.
So to speak. And then I moved to Seaside, to Palanga, and that's where we created out of office, because remote work, that was the new. The new idea for me, hit me with pandemics, that, oh my God, I can work from anywhere. I can move from Vilnius, I can move to Seaside with my family. So everything is fine now because I can work from home. But now I really understand that fully remote is not for me, and I enjoy making another type of workplace like out of office, because I truly believe that fully remote just it just kills our ability to make some new ties, innovations, and everything which is not physical. I think that doesn't work fully. So fully remote is not for me, and I believe that co-work spaces and offices will flourish like in the future.
Yes, Nidas, we're just getting older. I know, I feel the same. I feel the same. It used to be different 5 years ago. Algirdas, you're the one that is working closely to a thing called a startup, or startuppers. And startuppers are the catalyzers, or they're catalysts for this, let's say, trend of working remotely, working from everywhere. So what is your maybe perspective towards working as a team from one place, looking at each other every day? Because my personal opinion, we can start working remotely, but eventually we will rent an office and we will be sitting there, because otherwise it doesn't work. Imagine, for example, Revolut working scattered all around the world. How can it work?
Yeah, so first of all, probably I need to admit that I have two favorite places. It's Rocket and out of office. So thank you both teams. I mean, it's really great places, and then
we will send the bill for advertising later, okay? Okay.
For both, yeah. But in reality, I mean, I'm questioning why probably, because I feel that, in our activities we do, we invest in the startups, we work with startups, so that's a perfect place where we can meet everyone, we can talk with everyone, we can have panels like here, we can have events. So, this is the place or the working space I like, or my team likes, or the startups like, because this is especially in early stage, when you need to meet lots of people and work with. So I would say that this is one type of organizations, and this is, I agree with the people who spoke before here, that, it depends what you do. Like Nidas said, okay, he did different things at different times, and then he had to have different activities. So this is probably one angle, and for the startups, what we see actually is that some of the startups, they're just coming back at, maybe they're not startups anymore, but some big tech companies, they went all remote. Now they are backing all to the office. Like Apple, for example, they asked all the employees to come back. I mean, maybe not 5 days, maybe 4 days, but they said, okay, everyone should come back. So this is one way. Other companies which were built flourished during the COVID, they are doing opposite thing. Like Airbnb, what they're saying is that we will not have any offices. I mean, you can work from wherever you want.
Go and rent a flat yourself, yeah?
Yeah, and then it's Airbnb, so it's easy for them,
Yeah, obviously.
But what they're saying, we will meet each quarter. So, I mean, each quarter, all Airbnb employees will meet in one particular place in the world, wherever it is. So then, I mean, from Airbnb perspective, we need some kind of place once per quarter, but enormous place, and this is still an office. So imagine that if there are like 200 of these companies, and each of them meeting different day. So if you have office space, you can rent them, I mean, one by one. So then imagine what kind of office you need to have, what kind of problems you need to solve. Some of startups are moving to hybrid way. And then, it's also, most of them are saying we need to meet, not then we need to do some particular, but then we need to gather some ideas, to brainstorm and so on. So what kind of office spaces you need to have brainstorming sessions, to have maybe more like meeting rooms, more open spaces. So, but in the essence, probably from the startup point of view, it's also a thought in the mind that, in these changes, it's always opportunities. So for the startups, listening all these ideas here, you see opportunities. I mean, so, because probably there are some problems caused by these opportunities, let's say, and you can go and solve it. So maybe that's my kind of a bit of takeaway.
Yeah, very interesting angles you point here. Andre, we're living in, let's say, if I may, in times of a purpose, right? Everyone needs the purpose, and we are not going to the office just to earn money, right? There are some people that do, but majority, I'd say, like they're slightly moving towards the place where they expect something more, right? They want to contribute to something. They want to be a part of some community, let's say like this, right? And I would like to also pinpoint another word, a word that is culture. people want to join some place, some community because of some certain culture that is being obeyed or built inside. Can offices contribute to this, or let's say some public spaces contribute to this? And maybe the main thing that I would like to ask here, because we went through a lot of reasons why we used to and we do it now, but I see a very huge impact that the culture and the community does on the spaces. So what's your take on this?
You know, before our talk, we were chatting with Nidas that what is the real meaning of the design or of the spaces in the office. So I would say, like, good spaces, they help to nourish the company's culture, but bad leaders, they destroy it. And bad spaces, they don't. So, you know, you probably remember, like, back probably 10 years ago, we had a lot of changes in, I am as a designer, remember that, a lot of changes in restaurants, when one restaurant was totally destroying the interior of the previous restaurant, and they thought that they will open with the new interior, expensive interior, and suddenly it will be our most successful place. And then comes Coffee Inn, with their interiors that are home-like, that are with a lot of layers from a lot of generations to furniture and so on, and it's not corporate, but it's a chain, and we like them. So, you know, actually, we sometimes say that it's an obstacle to do things, and that this is the reason why we do not have a very successful company, because we are in a shitty office with a shitty design. But actually, first you have to start doing things, and then the design will come after it. For example, if I see in our office space, we recently moved to the concrete factory area. It used to be a real concrete factory, and in that area we have our living room, like our entrance space. And after our first party, we started to get requests whether we can rent the space for parties. So half a year after, we are renting this space at least 3 to 4 times a week for various events and parties. But we never ever designed it as a party space or as an auditorium or as an event space. It just has a simple kitchen with a sink. So, you know, these spaces, they adapt to your ideas. But first you should have these ideas and just put it first.
Yeah, but it raises a question. Yes, of course, we can make a bold move and to move to some, let's say, area or space that never was meant, for example, for happiness or something like that. And honestly, I've seen a lot of these kind of ideas literally dead. Despite the fact, when you look from the side, the framework was good, the idea was good, the community was good, but it didn't work out, right? We still have a lot of, let's say, areas in Vilnius, if I would mention a few of them. For example, Loftas, yes, or the area uptown, they had a lot of good ideas, but I don't see executed already. And maybe we could slightly discuss, so what is the problem? Why it doesn't work? Maybe you or Nidas would like to jump in for this. Yeah, because Betonofabrikas, it seems like a very, very interesting case. Maybe we would be able to hear a bit more. So what's the big idea there? But looking at dead areas, or let's go industrial areas, yes, you have to be very bold, but there's a very high probability of fail. So how can we manage it?
Maybe...
It works?
Yeah, it works?
Yeah.
So maybe, you know, we can see it from that perspective that there should be some product market fit, or there should be some need for it, you know. It's not
startup-ish mindset,
yay! Yeah, no. It should be like, you know, real problem. Like in Palanga, you know, like there was no place really to have a meeting or to work except coffee shop. So when we did out of office, it was built in like in an old building of old art gallery Kupeta, well known in Palanga, right in the middle of the park, with no real infrastructure, no internet, no optical, before the partner came. And we just converted that, with our hands and, some big energy into something like called out of office. But the key to success was that we understood that people need that at the moment already. And we had that, critical mass of execution power, the advantage of like strong team for us, like different backgrounds. And we just did it, a lot of work, and success came. But the problem was not artificial. There was a need
The
for
problem
that
was
already.
real.
The problem was real.
Okay, Algirdas, what is your take on this? And maybe I would like to add a bit on top of the question. So, what are the critical elements, let's say, for some area to be available for transformation? For example, when people are doing something, do they actually think about the commuting? Because before the discussion, we were discussing that some areas in some cities are developing, but the infrastructure or the commuting needs, they fail. They are left behind, and it's not a quality solution then.
Yeah, so, okay.
Oh, your microphone is working.
Yeah. So I will take from the cultural perspective and community, and we'll move to the attractor or infrastructure things. So I think in community case there should be great attractor. And what it is, it usually, like in Vilnius, we had Shevchenko's lofty. The great attractor was the price. It was very cheap, like 100 euros per square meter. So the first artist moved in because of the price. And the second attractor is the people which moved to this place. They are community and they are creating the cultural vibe, and they are the great attractor. And so other people moving in. And it's organic. It's very organic. And there is the breaking point where someone should come in as investor to facilitate further changes, because the community, it's usually not about investments, it's usually about culture and behavior, and you need investments. And it's the investment usually there is two parts: public investments and private investments. And I think it's always should correlate, because too big investment from public space, from public institutions or from private creates disorder, or creates. You can make very nice city like Astana. You create very nice streets, and there is
like Qatar, like Dubai, amazing place to live, right?
Yeah,
plus 50 in summer, plus 40 in winter.
Yeah, but we invest, like Dubai, investing a lot to attract the cultural things. We're investing a lot of money to attract tourists. It's also two parts investment, real estate, infrastructure, and also the cultural things. And the same, like Baku, they're doing F1, Formula 1 as a competition to create the vibe. But I think the most survivable species are microflora. It's like, small shops, small things, were not created by the government, but by the people. The Berlin. 10 years ago, it was like vibing on each street, each, corner, you can feel the vibe, and it was small things. And then there came big tech, came Amazon, and because they felt that all the creative moved to Berlin, so, okay, we need to move also there. So the talents, and it's same with the city, like in Vilnius, I think, the Loftus or other examples, there is a microflora, but we need macro things. And the macro things, it's infrastructure for mobility, and the same, the Betona fabricas. When we opened, we asked, okay, do we want to move to this place? And most of our employees are using bikes to move, and so they try to find the way to drive to the Betona fabricas, and say it's not very, not safe, but it's not enough tracks to drive the bikes to this place, and it's the infrastructure from city should come next, where all the mobility things, and maybe Andrea will have a reflection on how we are moving around the work and back and forward. But that's how people recognizes things. And another thing, it's local investments and infrastructure like the great tractors, and you can create international things. So we usually have, like, in London, Tate, in Italian Teleskivi, and in Bilbao and Guggenheim Museum, and the same example is like, if you want to attract international talents and international attention, you should have Instagrammable, thing like Apple. So the very simple example, we talked before with Olga also that like in Seoul, the Seoul municipality invested like 1 billion in design center. They built, Sahara Hadi architects made a very conceptual nice thing for design center. They invested 1 billion in this project, and then like 20 billion of investments in real estate around this building. And the very trashy, very forgotten place became design spot in the world. So it's I think okay. Nidas is already.
I just want to add some local example, a very small scale. But when I moved to Palanga before pandemics, the first problem was there was no coffee place. Like there were some, but I used to go to normal.
No, I love this angle. Everything starts with a cup of coffee. Yeah,
course,
it's Jakob started doing it, then you. Okay.
Okay, so we just I just built coffee shop, and then there's no place to meet some colleagues from Vilnius or talk about a startup or something. So we just built co-work. But then another problem came, that when I started to talk to people, why don't you come to live at the seaside or spend part of your working time in Palanga, because we have co-work, we have coffee shop, we have a nice swimming pool and everything, and the nature. And then the question came in from the families, like, what about the education? So because there is no alternative to public education, and everybody's like, my kids, I want to take care of them. So now I'm thinking, let's build a school. So maybe I will start the school, because you have to somehow address that problem. If nobody is doing that and infrastructure is struggling, so maybe that's the case. Maybe you can solve the problem by yourself.
Is it me, or that's the thing that municipality should do?
Sorry?
The municipality should fix these kind of issues.
That's another topic which we can discuss.
For another discussion. Yes, of course. Algirdas.
So this situation reminds me a bit like the question why some startups are successful and some not. And why investors are investing into some and some not. And usually, it all happens with good execution, or as we call traction, yeah? And what we talked here is also the same. So first of all, you need to show the traction. Either it's built from, many people are joining one event or another one, either they're going to Palanga, either they're going to, Betona Fabrica's place or somewhere else. And usually in early stage, what we look at the team or execution team, yeah? Or the founders. And that's the key thing. And here, I guess, in all the situations we talk about, all the successful examples, it's a team behind it. The team which executed in the best way. And then if we have a good team, you will have attraction, then you will attract investors and so on. And whenever you don't have a team, whatever place you have, whatever thing you have, you will lack things. And you will always have to blame someone. Maybe the government needs to build some schools or something. But Nidas just came and did it, things already. And then, as he's still doing.
And we have mayor elections next year. Don't forget that. You're in Palanga.
Or like Betona Fabricas, they did this place and they executed perfectly. And that's why, now everyone wants to make an event in Betona Fabricas. And, because they executed that in the best way. And they're still executing not only the place, but the experience which you get there. So, that's, I think, one important moment which we all sometimes forget. And we think that, it's only the place, only the money. I think it's only the founder or people who are having sparkle
Okay.
in their eyes.
Andrea, and it actually brings me back to you. We are mentioning Betono Fabrikas as one whole for the events, but it's way bigger project. And maybe you could share a bit of a story. Why did you choose that area? And what, when you guys are designing something like this, what is absolutely mandatory to be there in order to create a living area, a livable, a likable area in which people would like to move to live, to work, and maybe to do something else, maybe to create something and to cooperate with someone, and that would be a very, let's say, trendy place.
Yeah, you know, Betonas Fabrikas, it happened accidentally, totally. It happened totally accidentally. Just a year ago, during pandemics, me and my colleague with 4 small kids with bikes, we were going on a weekend through the closed railway tracks. And 5 kilometers from the cathedral, we appeared somewhere in the forest, in the industrial area, and then I just looked at the map where we are. It's Savanori Prospectus. And I never, ever in my life realized that it's just 5 kilometers away from cathedral. So then it started. Then I came back home and started to search in Orantas whether there is something to buy. Because, you know, as you're an architect's office, you're always searching for the uncomfortable zone in order to facilitate your kind of thinking, because comfort, like being in Pilies Street, just makes you look straight, not to all the sides. So, and also when you talk about Berlin and all these creative offices, so we were always dreaming about these creative offices. And you know, then we just found a big area. They were selling this space for 2 years unsuccessfully. It was just too big. It had no loading, comfortable place, and nobody wanted to buy because it was, they were selling it as a kind of storage area. And then, and they were selling it cheap, actually. So, you know, we just said, okay, we have to go there and we have to move in there. And then, you know, when you make that decision as being a partner in the office, how you tell to your 50 employees that
It's going to be very comfortable
yeah,
to
but
commute somewhere.
it will
yeah?
be very comfortable. Now we are in the very city center, in the old town, so it will be better. Like we move like...
In a period of 10 years, we'll
yeah,
have coffee
you
shops
just
there,
move
good
outside.
coffee, you know,
yeah,
some
you move
attractions.
outside Vilnius,
maybe.
the future is bright and so on. And yeah, you know, it was actually also painful to convince our employees to move there. We just made a big dining event. We just put a long table for 50 employees on the tracks. We made a nice supper. We opened the gate, and then we started the construction. And you know, our employees started to believe only after we made the big opening party.
Okay.
Because sometimes you feel that, okay, I can go there, but then there are hundreds of people that say, oh, you have a cool place, you're lucky that you work there. Only then they started to believe that they can work there. And then these obstacles that I cannot go there by bike, they just disappear because it's just 5 kilometers from cathedral. So for some it's like 3
Basically
kilometers.
walking distance.
Yeah, basically walking distance. So like I'm tracking my commute there like already for half a year. So I made this year already 1,200 kilometers commuting by bike to Betonas factory. So I go there every day, one way and the other back. So it takes me half an hour to go to one side and the half an hour to the back home. Is it a lot? Will I gain a lot going by car, or I go sometimes by trolley bus and so on? But you know, we have to nourish our habits because you know, to do sports is also, we are not born with that habit to do sports, and we are always having better reasons not to do sports or to not to eat so many candies. But if you just say, come on, we are already kind of mature enough as a nation, and we understand what advantages all these things commuting by bike give to us, then we just start to do that. And we have to start to do that. We should not expect that to do the others. We just have to start doing that. And then little by little, you are there with 1,000 kilometers in half a year.
And also, you need to do a pretty good opening party and sell the idea that that place can be likable, right?
Actually, the party is the most important thing.
Okay, but coming back to maybe my main question, so what the area has to have, what is absolutely mandatory for it to have possibility to become the place that everyone wants to be?
You know, you said a very good two examples about the ideas or the spirit that Loftus and Shevchenko area had. And I have another example of Popis that had her money. But they, in a way...
If we would mix them?
From the beginning, they destroyed the spirit. Because if you remember that area 20 years ago, how it looked, they had huge factories from red bricks, amazing factories. But 20 years ago, it was not of a value for us. It was just an ugly, abandoned factory. So we kind of destroyed that, and we built a new setup. Of course, it's booming now, it's trendy and so on. But what if you mix the money with the ideas? And I believe, as I said, we are smart and smart every day. So we are lucky that we had these two examples. So that Betonos factory, we already start to mix both. We start to be less corporate, to be with ideas, to be creative, and we already know where the money are. So probably, I believe, you know, we are too young. Half a year, it's not a successful track record. Let's talk about that 10 years after, but yeah.
We will discuss later how can we sell these kind of ideas for young generation for whom a month is a long period of time, right? When looking at 10 years ago. Algirdas, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, just two short remarks. That Popis, we had office in the factory 10 years ago in the same place, and we had like hipster office, and the problem was the pollution of the gruntas. It's mean the factory, the soil was very polluted with heavy metals because the factory was producing some stuff which is, and they was everything putting underground. So they need to clean up, and it was a huge cleaning of efforts to move all the soil from this place. So it's also, you know, but I agree that the soul of the factory was demolished. And now it's, you know, we have very nice buildings, and the culture has to come now again. And another thing of investments, which I think it's with Betono fabrikas, we have very nice artery in Vilnius. It's called Neris, and if you go on Laisvės, not Laisvės, Savanorių prospectus in Paneriai, it's like the river is behind the factories. But if you make, that's the public investment. You just make walkable or drivable, not by bicycle, not by car, the river shore, connect the center through Vingio Parkas to the Paneriai, and you know, the people will join, you know, the movement, and they will go farther to the Gariūnai, where Neris moves very nice places, Titnago Street, which farther, and it's all the factories moving out, and it's a lot of lofts, which now it's possibility to expand the city in a very nice place by the river and the nature. On the other side, you have the forest and the Paneriai Parkas. So it's very, and it's also about investments, public and private.
Okay, I don't want to get into solving Vilnius or Palanga problems here, right, in this discussion, and we are participating in a PropTech innovation camp. So the technology is the thing that actually also forces some things to happen, forces some things to start happening, and helps some things to happen. Actually, Algirdas, you did point out a thing called pollution, right? And I would also like to remind that real estate is behind from 20 to 40% of the overall CO2 emissions. and all of these kind of things. So what do you think? What should we do, or where should we focus on in order to basically not only redesign the office spaces and the buildings, but also to empower the technology to help us to live a better life? And do you see any good solutions already out there that would help us?
Okay, so we can make farms from all the office buildings, gardens. It's convert, tomato gardening, or it should be a very good example of converting from farms of people to farms of tomatoes or something. But of course, I'm joking. But still, what we see the trends. We see the trends that some skyscrapers now are turning on the bottom. Like Google office in London. It's not anymore going up. It's going along the street. So the elements of power, which the higher your office is, the more powerful you are. It's not anymore trendy, and
no one wants to live there, right, or work there.
Yeah, and so technology. I think the one thing is that the oldest technology is the nature, and it's around us for billions of years. And I think that you mix your life, like in 200, 300 years ago, we separated humans from the nature. Like we are different, we are better, we are scientists, we are thinking, and the nature. And it's loneliness. We're missing still the nature, and that's why I think.
I honestly love this trend. Look at our stage. Every stage now has to have some plants, right?
Yeah. So I think the most important technology now is to reconnect with the nature back. And that's the highest technology advancement which could happen.
It's very philosophical, Conor, again. But Nidas, maybe you would like to share some practical technological solutions that are being applied in order to tackle the problems.
Mm-hmm. So actually, I think a few people know that in out of office we are like blending all these two things like for 2 years. Like we are in the middle of Birutės parkas, so constantly people are grilling something in the park or just playing table tennis or just hanging in hammocks. But on the other hand, the co-work space is monitored real time with smart air quality sensors. So I have real-time data in my phone of hard particles, CO2 level, humidity levels, and everything you can imagine, just in order to understand, is it really healthy for people to spend time in our co-work? And there is a ping-in smart management system installed for reservations. We have, of course, smart locks and NFC-powered, apps for going in and out. So everything is inside. You can't really see that for the first time, but everything is in. So it's like nice blend of being in the nature, like walking distance to the sea. On the other hand, this is like a smart co-work already.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, Andrea, I see, and then Algirdas. It disappeared?
Yeah. Oh. I have a comment about being in the nature. So let's agree that we are all different, yes? And we feel the warmth or the cold differently. So that means all the norms are the average. So going back to nature is going out of your comfort zone. Because in nature you do not have comfort zone. You have rain, you have water, you have grass, you have everything. So if we want to go back to nature, we have to agree that we have to get rid of all these, too laboratorical, technological aspects in our office. Because the value of being able to open the window in the office it not only changes the air in your office, but it also gives you the perspective, the sounds of the city, and then you are not in the laboratory, and then you are not an average, then you're again a human, and then you're out of your comfort zone. And we are so scared of this thing because like 50 years technological office trends, they are telling us that being sustainable, that means installing all these equipments. And sorry, but treating with disrespect all these plants that would never grow here naturally, and putting us in the environment where we do not belong naturally.
It hurts to listen. Okay, but Algirdas, maybe you can give some positive perspective.
I got a bit of, okay.
Yep. Do you see any numbers on the screen?
Okay.
Yeah, it works, right?
It works, yeah?
Yeah.
So maybe I just want to complement a bit what we talked here a bit about experience as well, probably, and how startups, and I also agree with Nidas about, Pinkin as one of the startups who gives the experience of the office building, which we don't maybe feel in the beginning, but it's very much needed. Another startup, like for example, is Bikekeep, which is helping to keep bicycles and scooters safe outside the office. And then, talking with different offices, we get this kind of remark, but we have a regular app of bicycle. Why we need the smart locker? And then we say the argument back, but, after your bike was stolen maybe, and you are in the best office ever, you never will tell that your experience was good because it was stolen. And then, who's to blame? That probably the place you were, maybe not, maybe, but still, what I'm saying about these examples is that the experience is very important, and startups can come with some solutions like Pingin, like Bikekeep, other ones, which can integrate that one. I mean, maybe it's not so good example, but also like some startups and some smart systems are working towards the offices to make it more natural, let's say, in the way that, we recently...
There's sand everywhere, right? We use a lot of wood.
We visited Jungas office. If you haven't been there, please go. It's next to Vilnius, like 5 kilometers or so. We install like smart office. We have smart flat, smart hotel room, and so on. So with all possible technologies ever. So you would not probably install so many, but I mean, it can be installed anywhere. I mean, to be honest, with sensors. But one of the things we showed is that how, I mean, right now all the systems are connected and they're adapting in the way that, if it is like you have a workshop, so the lights go a bit of dimmy, then some more air goes up if you need to sit. So I mean, maybe it's a bit of different setup. So it's all done also a bit of automatically. Of course, it will not replace the nature, but Andre was put a good comment that, do we want it or not? Because if we ask ourselves about this being in real nature, being vulnerable, being, not in comfort zone, so that's the question we need to ask. And if we want a comfort zone, probably then we can't have this kind of complete nature. So that's very nice comment.
Yeah, just a comment about the smart home and so on. We do not build a Boeing to go to Elektrėnai. So, I mean, there are places where it's obligatory to take a Boeing and to go somewhere, but we not go with a Boeing to Elektrėnai. And we always have to be cautious about this thing, because sometimes we just need simple solutions, and sometimes we need the very smart solutions. But in a very rare aspects, we need these smart solutions. And we use them every time, almost now.
And sustainability is always tightly connected to circular economy, like reusing or using the same place for multiple purpose, right? Today, or like every day, we are having a lot of public spaces and a lot of, let's say, private spaces that are being used for a very limited amount of time. Why don't we ever actually think how can we use the same places like 24 hours a day? Co-workings are the ones that did understand that. If you work with USA, it's not a problem. Come to the office, it's open. But especially, for example, talking about this office, all the lights will be dimmed and it's only going to be a light where are you sitting. But if we, for example, speak about the big office buildings, I believe it's a waste at night. And how can we tackle this issue? What do you think?
Okay, so I think it's behavioral patterns.
Then we need to sleep? Sleep is
I think technology moves first and then behavior follows. And the trend moves first and the behavior follows. So
Algirdas, would you imagine that at daytime it's an office for Telia, at night it's an office for Maxima that works with Asia? That's the same premise.
Yeah, now I'm working with the idea to renting our office for 5 companies, looking for an app which could help us to manage all the
To swap.
to manage the traffic in the office. So the map each place which we have in the office.
Okay.
And then you can reserve your place, and it's not anymore office like home where you're coming back. It's a place where you come to work and reconnect. And the more different people comes, the more extreme exchange of ideas from different fields happens. The more creative you will become. So you don't need to be around designers all the time to create ideas. You need people who facilitate your creativity from a very different perspective and different fields. So we are looking for companies which is not design based and also so they have some correlation, but technology help us to create office not only for one company but for 5 companies. So that's implementation of technology. And from circular point of view, last conference I was, it was like very simple technology which I became aware of. It's like New York now converting all the rooftops of the buildings to the gardens. It's technology, simple, but it's reduce the heat which rooftops reflects from the sun, and also reduces CO2. And then the bee farms appear in New York, big bee farms, because the bees, the honey is more healthy in the city than outside the city because of farmers putting all
Pesticides, yeah.
Pesticides, and in the city the bees doesn't collect the pesticides, and all the heavy metals, they are not transferred to the honey. So it's technology, very simple, but from nature. So
and guys, I see the time is passing so fast, and we were so good at talking about philosophical angles, right? But during this week, what we want to do, we want to actually tackle let's say the existing problems. And when I'm speaking about the problems, I usually want to speak about the opportunities. Let's not speak like what is bad, but let's speak how it should be and where can we apply the technology. So if we speak about the future, and if we speak about the future offices, and maybe the future can be a year from now, or it can be 10 years from now, what do you think? How the normal office building should work, and what should it have, and what function it should actually do? So it's a wide question. You can answer it through your own perspective. What are you expecting the office to have? Or you can, as we did in this discussion, we can speak about from a bit wider angle, from let's say a community member, or a person that is just living in a city that wants it to be somehow like this. Who would like to start? Algirdas, maybe you?
I can start.
Yeah.
It's very
So future office, how it should look.
Yeah, it's always nice to predict something, but probably, we will all be wrong here. But we can name some opportunities maybe, and one of the opportunities which was named by you, I think I listened to some pitches as well for startups who are saying that, okay, how to use that place when some companies are not working, to rent for other companies. And this is a huge opportunity for all types of startups. It's not only the place, it's the compliance, security, how to make Maxima and Remy maybe work together. Because, I mean, maybe Maxima wants to, as you said, work at night and Remy wants to work at daytime. So there are lots of opportunities here. So this is one angle, I guess, which can be solved. Another very interesting angle is the technological point, I would say, even at Rocket. I mean, it's a super nice place and I'm really happy here because, I mean, it can be transferred. At the same time, I mean, it can be transferred right now to different types of events. But what if it's 100 people and we all have meetings at once? So how to make that happening? And probably we will not build all the separate kind of meeting rooms for 100 people, or maybe we can. So this is another opportunity, I guess we can, because I mean, we can think about how to be even extreme in this transformation of that one. Another one is, I would say, the commuting, still the case. I mean, it's nice to see more people commuting with bicycles. We have scooters. We have other means of transportation.
People have kids.
So how to mix everything and how to make it also.
Like they're bringing to the kindergarten, then they have the card. If you're going, no, so many problems.
Yeah. So this is sorry, but this is what I see.
I will add something.
Okay. Nidas?
Okay, so
Flying cars,
best,
holographic meeting rooms.
Except flying cars. Yeah. So like future office for me would be like, first of all, well thought spaces and design, like people like done perfectly by like people like Andrea and team, and most preferably not demolishing the area, or maybe like making some nice conversion. Second, very important thing, good coffee. Third one, like dog friendly, fully accept hybrid work friendly, like keeping in mind that many people are already or will go hybrid. Maybe 3 days a week in the office. So it should be also new normal. Then good proximity to critical infrastructure, like some good place to eat, bike friendly, should be, of course, powered by smart energy, like solar or something. I would like to know that. Like for me, is like kind of small bonus, and of course all these nice things integrated, like pinging, or like managed by advanced systems.
Okay.
Very easy to switch places, to move, to organize workshops or something. So
Okay.
like
Okay.
that.
Thank you, Andrea.
So I don't know how the future offices will look like, but I know what is interesting for people. So it's like good stories, smart people, and good coffee. So how do we make, good stories in new buildings? It's always very, kind of difficult not to do the good ventilation, but it's always very challenging to buy a good painting, or to buy or to take a chair that is valuable for you, that's from your grandmother, and so on. So all these things, they create layers of stories. And I believe that as we are becoming less and less official and more about the content, and technology allows us to do that with our smartphones. And even today, we are all sitting without ties and hats.
But
with
just a few
fur
years ago, we
and,
were showing the bedroom, right? And it was okay.
Yeah, and so we are really being less and less about the appearance and more about content. And that's why the old chair is becoming a bigger value, just because it's a kind of tool to sit on than a kind of new red chair instead of that old chair. So I believe that that sustainability aspect, together with our really value layer, will change the office towards that direction. And we see that's already there.
But if I would ask about one main technological solution that you really would like to be applied in all of the offices, what that would be? No, so smart systems, for example, something that excites
okay,
you.
yeah, okay, about that smart systems. We are like really working a lot with smart systems, and these smart systems, like 10 years ago, they had tens of thousands of kilometers of wiring in order to accomplish that smart system. But now we have it wireless. Now I even, with my mobile phone, can turn off this light because of the adapters and because of the smart system. So that means that it's not that I need an expert to arrange the technology of my house or my office. I just need a smartphone with the right app and the right adapter, and that's it. And I am wireless in my kind of also, choices. So. And I believe it will go like that, yeah. So we do not have the secretary in the rocket entrance. Nobody is asking me you or whatever. I just type.
No, we already have the data.
Yeah,
You just entered, we scanned.
Yeah, and this is the technology.
That's okay.
And it's wireless.
And it's going to be sold to big pharma and big companies. That's why it's for free, This is how it works, If you're not paying, you're the product.
But it's okay.
I'm joking. Okay, Algirdas, what would be your last bits on the future offices or future cities, if you feel more comfortable?
Okay, so I think if starting from a philosophical perspective, so as a humans, we identify ourselves in two ways. One, we're reflecting to our behavior, and another way, we're scanning behavior reactions of others. So I understand myself from a reaction of people who are around me, how they react to my behavior. So I need to be alone to think about myself, and I have to be with people to understand and what I'm doing. Am I doing good or bad? And where I'm in the in the social discourse of the things. So the office is also the same. You're coming to work to be alone with your thoughts, to do things. And another thing, you come to reflect your with your coworkers on the things. And digital doesn't solve the real life exchange, which is the most valuable thing in generating ideas, facilitating changes, and we need still live attendance. So I think the future office should have two parts. So the space to run away and to be with your thoughts.
Privacy.
Yeah. And also the community. And also the exchange place, and also not separated by the company means, but separated by the community means. So, like Rocket, you have a place to sit and to talk. And imagine that now you go up and you have the floors with companies which are closed and like isolated. So when we will have, elevator, which will be, open space through all 10 floors or 20 floors, and you can go out in each floor and just sit and take
and use an app for that and just swap the offices. It's a hybrid solutions, right?
Yeah, and also, this building is part of infrastructure. So the future offices, I think, should. It's a difficult question, but I think it should be integrated in like more broad perspective of the city, where it is, and the city as a body, it's also like the school. It's learning, it teaching us how it's you go around the city and you grab different inputs which also creates you and creates the people. So defining the place where is the office and the infrastructure which is working around, it's very important thing. So so it's the bright future idea, and the life goes on, and square meters and investments in square meters also important things, and I think we will be somewhere in between the things.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I do know. I know. We're going to be open for the Q&A in just a moment. What I wanted to maybe reflect a bit from our panel here on the stage. Obviously, if someone had the expectation that we will be sharing solutions, how can we tackle this and that, that's a thing that the startups are doing, the innovators are doing. What we wanted to, and why I'm so happy, we had a talk about the perspective on how do we live, on who are we, yes, why do we need communities, what the certain area, certain, let's say, building or certain project needs to actually succeed. Different perspective on the community and the culture, about the coffee, right, about the possibilities where we have opportunities, for example, our perspective towards the nature. And all of this obviously will be solved by us, by the people that we live here. We see the problems, and maybe the last bit from me is I like how Andrea approached the topic of smart things, but on the other hand, obviously, what we didn't touch here, there are a lot of problems with energy efficiency, with consumption, etc. But these are pretty narrow fields, and technology is the thing that can help to solve it. And there are way more of, obviously, questions we could tackle here at this panel, but obviously we don't have that much of time. But my honest belief is, if we did raise some interesting questions in your head that you would like to pursue and discover available solutions or to create one, we did actually succeed here on the stage. And I'm waiting for the app that would allow me to swap offices with Telia, for example. I would like to try to work there, or at Betono Fabrikas. Yeah, guys, we're open for the Q&A. Any questions that you were expecting and we didn't answer? So this is the time for you to shout out. Ekaterina?
Yeah, I liked how Nidas mentioned the idea of building the buildings that have some, historical meaning, that are from the art perspective, that bring value and attract tourists. So I wanted, to ask you guys, do you believe that art, and we have here flexible, sustainable, and tech-driven. Could we add here art-driven? So can art be somehow, helpful for creative industries, or for just to boost the creativity, or maybe to solve some problems that you are talking about? So it would be interesting to hear your opinion.
Very fast. Culture creates values, and values determines the future. So whatever it is, it's based on values and based on the culture which form those values. So art, creativity, forming the people, not for influencing people with values, and values will create all the flexible, sustainable, and tech-driven things.
Natalia, you touched a very nice subject, because if we start to think what is like really art and what we value as a valuable art, it's such an art piece that has a lot of layers of stories. That it's not just a plain technological thing, because we can replica anything now today with our technology. So it was the first such an example, but with a story, with the meaning, and with song. So if you put that art piece in this space, it's a concentrated place where you have a lot of layers of stories. So this is, in a way, the easiest way to create and to boost the atmosphere in this space. Because in order for this new space to have its own stories. You need like 10 years, sometimes 100 years, sometimes 200 years. So, of course, art helps us to create all these spaces a lot. And art cannot be just, just an art piece. It can be a sculpture, it can be a process itself, it can be an obstacle, it can be new thoughts, and everything is art in that case. Yeah.
And the nation that doesn't dream is a doomed nation, right? Everyone on this.
Actually, I think that pretty soon we will have a practical example of that blending because now we are operating in the building of old Kupata in Palanga, like art gallery, used to be art gallery. So we are really looking forward for municipality to announce the concession, like for conversion the building. And one of the key things would be that it should be not only co-work, but co-work with art, like in a way, like blended. So we will have to tackle this issue and to come with the solution how to make it, happen. Also as a businessman, like from the monetization perspective. So that will be, I think, big challenge for us, but we are looking forward for that.
And it's a normal thing to go and work from Algirdas library, right? So why don't we open up other museums and allow people to work from there? It could be very inspiring.
Thanks, everyone. So in the last couple of days, we've been discussing the future of construction, energy efficiency, big data, and today we're talking about the future of offices. And so you've been debating on how it could look like and what is important moving to the future. And I have a question for Algirdas on if we are expecting such a large disruption in PropTech and management of buildings, commercials or otherwise, perhaps turning them into office as a service, city as a service, house as a service, what kind of disruption would you expect in the venture landscape in the coming decades?
I think that the disruptions will be super big, to be honest, especially what regards sustainability and impact. I mean, so far it was kind of, you could do it, you could offset, you could not offset. I mean, it's your decision to make. But starting from probably 2024, with all this Green Deal, with all this kind of taxonomy things, businesses starting from probably banks, but I mean, it will roll on very, very soon. And real estate will be one of the first things, will be obliged to do many things to change the situation. And especially when we talk about old buildings and so on. So, very soon the business case will happen. If CO2 offsets would cost not 10 euros, but 1,000 euro per ton, I mean, things will change overnight. I mean, like it changed with COVID, like it changed with war, so things will change, and I have no doubts it will happen. The question is, either next year or maybe in 2 years, and then magical things will boost, because right now, I mean, we see lots of deep tech technologies, you as well, probably seeing that, which are nurturing and which are developing, but they don't have business case yet. Many of them, they don't have business case, but with one of the things, only offsetting things, kind of, price going up, or like regulation, which would say that, the building should be that or that. I mean, drastically, the business case will come, and all these technologies, which right now on R&D model, will boost. So I think that this is coming, and if it's only business case, which doesn't allow you to do these green things, but it all makes sense. The design makes sense, the users love it. So I think, it's a path to proceed. This is kind of takeaway. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much, dear panelists. Thank you everyone for listening. Hopefully it was an interesting journey together. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, thank you, our dear guests. You're free to go to have coffee and refresh. For startups, I would like to ask you to stay for a few minutes, and I'm passing the microphone to Olga so she could brief you with the important information for today. So, Olga, maybe you can just briefly tell what is the schedule to remind where our startups need to be and when.
Hey guys, so in half an hour we have a workshop on the skill set development and talent development. Right now it's lunchtime for everybody, so please join the kitchen. And the rest of the day will be mentor hours. If you haven't booked some time yet, please do. Otherwise, we will inform mentors that we don't need to come today. And please book your time for tomorrow, so we will be able to inform our mentors for tomorrow too. And mark down who you met, so we also kind of have an understanding. Thank you.